Welcome to Crit Hit Interviews. I'm Arlian, and I'm joined today by Lovey.
Hello.
And Shrimp.
Hey.
And today we're talking to Teddy Lee.
Hey.
From Cellar Door Games. He's been making games forever, but the ones most people would recognize are Don't Shit Your Pants, Rogue Legacy, and of course Full Metal Furies, which we did do a full review of. So, first off, Full Metal Furies has 4-person co-op, which is basically the perfect size for a Lee family get-together. So have you ever played Full Metal Furies with your 3 siblings?
I have played with all of my brothers and sisters, but we've never all played it at the same time. Because we're like all over the place, so it's kind of difficult. But I think the most we played is with 3.
Alright, and what about Band of Bears? Going old school here.
Yeah, that also no. No, that was me and 3 brothers. My sister actually never played it, I think.
Huh.
Yeah, in like 4 months, and she was in Vancouver.
What was your favorite memory watching someone play one of your games?
This is kind of hard because it's, I guess, based on like nostalgia, but probably Don't Shit Your Pants. And it wasn't watching people play. Have you guys ever been to Congregate? Or like Newgrounds?
Yeah.
Yeah, so on those sites they've got like this I guess this dynamic comment. People can like just post comments. And I don't know how Congregate did it. Like they made a really, so people would post all the time, and I made Don't Shit Your Pants with my brother while I was working at a company. So while I was there, I just had like a small window open in the side, and I was just like hitting refresh every 10 seconds, and they'll just that was like really nice. It made like the whole day go by so much fun.
So, you always try to make something unique, and you've been covering many different genres. But have you ever wanted to go back and make a full game from one of your smaller projects? Maybe something from your RPG Maker days when you were a kid?
Not my RPG Maker games. Those are all really bad. I actually, like, they're so bad I've had like 7 of them, but I've only released 3, I think, or 4. Like the other 3, even as a kid, I was like, this is too embarrassing. I wouldn't say remake, but I made an adventure game with my brother called I Have One Day. It was Flash, but not RPG. The idea for that, like, I was super happy with that game. The idea for that was that if people really liked it, would sequel in mind and where it would go. So for those who haven't played it, I Have One Day is an adventure game where you can go back in time. So there's multiple solutions to everything, like a puzzle in a puzzle.
I think I played that. It's on Newgrounds, right?
Yeah. It just became a puzzle in a puzzle where you had to, like, crisis, but you had a small time limit, and every action took time. Then you start seeing it more and more abstract solutions. I don't know. I was like, I loved it. It's one of my favorite games we've ever made. The stuff set up for a sequel, but adventure games just don't make money. We knew that even if we made it, like the full sequel, and put it even on Steam, we'd be like bankrupt.
So, how about a sequel then, though? Like a Rogue Legacy 2 or a Full Metal Furies 2?
I think this goes back to like we don't really want to. Well, no, not we don't like want to make the same game. It's like we like making something that challenges us, right? So we're always jumping genres. I think we've already done like shooter. We've done a platformer, a turn-based RPG. A lot of things people haven't even seen. Legacy 2, like, we have a lot of ideas. I would like to make it, and the biggest reason I'd want to make it, though, is that I'd like to see what we could do with the sequel, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But
Fair
we don't
enough.
want to tread old ground. At the same time, we make a game where people go, this is I think that would be an interesting challenge. If I could, I'd like to just jump into a different genre.
So we might see one day a sequel, but it would likely be a very different game in how it actually played out.
Possibly. We'll see. I mean, there's ideas, but like I don't like to talk, like say, oh, this is what we're gonna do, because
I mean, fair
time,
enough. I've
yeah,
seen
we
the
just scrap
evolution
whatever we're doing.
for how some of those things changed.
Yeah.
I saw the change in the skill trees over time, how that modified. So
Oh, is it for Rogue or for FMF?
I saw the original skill tree plan for Rogue Legacy, so yeah, I can entirely get I'm not going to talk about what would be in there right now, because it can change drastically, because...
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, the totem stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad we changed it.
So speaking of you guys changing genres all the time, I remember before you mentioned that you didn't like roguelikes going into making Rogue Legacy. And before the interview, you just mentioned that you didn't really like brawlers and going into making Full Metal Furies.
I mean, like, I like a lot of games. So I don't know. It's just like I played a lot of games, right? And I play like every genre. I skip sports.
Same. Other than Mario Kart.
But that's not a sport.
That's
it's
not
a,
sport.
It's an
racing.
e-sport.
It's racing.
It's different.
It's racing. Counts.
Uh-huh.
But like, it's just it hasn't become like work. I mean, it's my hobby still, and I can't turn off like the critical part, so I don't really enjoy games that much.
Fair.
But it's hard to like appreciate them at a consumer level. Like, I'm just going to appreciate it like flaws and all.
You can't mindlessly indulge in it easily because you go into it being like, but you can
Yeah.
do this better.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, why did they do the tutorial this way, or why is this cutscene like done in this form? Like, it's actually pretty frustrating. But when I say like, oh, we go into genres we don't like, it's like I don't know if there's you like. Or also, I just feel like they're really old. A lot of games, and I don't blame them because especially when you get into like, it's hard for us to iterate because it's expensive. But when you get, especially in the art department, to iterate because like when you get into animation frames and everything, and you've got to tween it, and there's all this stuff, right? So it makes it hard to iterate. But it just really frustrates me when I see these games that use really outdated, that are static to a genre.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I also get it on quality of life stuff.
Yeah.
Like, the one thing that I hate so badly, and I see it done in so many RPGs, which is unskippable cutscenes done before a boss fight.
Yeah.
Like 15 minutes of like unskippable cutscene, and this happens in like RPGs too. A notable example, and I despise it to this day, is like of Orcs and Men right near the final boss fight. There's this unskippable goddamn cutscene, and I got to like watch it so many times,
Yeah,
and that is just
hate it.
this thing that shouldn't happen now. Like, I get not wanting to make cutscenes easily skippable so people do watch it. On the other hand, forcing me to sit through the same cutscene over and over again whenever I lose a fight is super not cool and like a punishment that wastes my time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, like, I get that thing of like nuances to, I mean, that's more of a quality of life. Why are you doing this thing? But I can get it from your perspective as a developer who's like, but this would work better gameplay wise, or be nicer, or why isn't there like cancels in this brawler game? All the attacking feels stiff and not fluid.
Yeah. About that cutscene stuff, I hate it too. I think every cutscene should be skipped.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I whenever I'm playing a game, I actually take like how much I paid into account, right? So cutscene is pretty tough depending on how your game is made.
I mean, I like watching them the first time. Past that, no. Give me the option to be able to skip it. That's the thing. Just at least let them be able to be skipped, or even like
Not even start.
yeah. Would you like to
do
see
that.
this cutscene? Or
Just go straight in.
the alternative option is being you make people sit down and watch the cutscene the first time, and some of the games have like 5-second cutscenes. They're just like a quick intro to a boss or something, and that's cool. But also giving the option that if you've seen this cutscene once, you can skip it. Like, it just little variable ticked. Oh, they have seen this cutscene once.
Like
now skippable.
even if you just don't want to see the cutscenes in general and you want to play the game, and with a few older games that I like to play, because of the format that they were in, a lot of the newer computers just hate it, so a lot of people turn it off instead of converting them, and it would be great if we could just have a switch like that, where we just turn all the cutscenes off
Yeah.
whenever we wanted.
I also have the problem when I play Diablo 2 in windowed mode that without a fix, all the cutscenes just crash the game.
Yeah, it's the same with Tomb Raider.
But actually, to elaborate slightly on Shrimp's thing, he mentioned that, you've gone into these games sort of, and you looked at these genres and you're like, I think we can improve on this. For example, the skill-based aggro and co-op, or the handcrafted enemy scaling. Are there any details that you would like players to know about, either for Full Metal Furies especially, because it's your more recent work, but also just things you've done for like Rogue Legacy, for example?
Okay, so I guess this is for Rogue Legacy and Full Metal Furies. This is just a minor thing. When you see the enemy levels, All those enemy levels are quasi-faked. We actually put them in to kind of understand, like, oh, if they're level 12, we would like you to be level 12. That's just a minor thing.
Yeah, that makes sense, because then
It's like an indicator of like, hey, be this strong to get here.
Yeah. But that's just a super minor thing. The biggest thing I think for Full Metal Fury is that something more people would appreciate, but like in hindsight, or like, why would anybody care? It was our player scaling. Have you guys played a lot of co-op games?
I've played a fair amount. I've played Souls-likes, which have their scaling for co-op, and it's pretty brutal at times. I've done old school brawlers like NES, where there actually isn't that much of the scaling, other than we throw more enemies at you.
Yeah. So a lot of them break. You know what I mean?
Oh, and MMOs sometimes have that scaling.
Oh yeah. MMOs usually have like a. Actually, that's a good point. So MMOs like World of Warcraft, right? When you go into a raid, or I forget what the terminology. You know how they have like 25 man, 50 man, or 40 man? Yeah. So that's how they balance it, right? Because they can't balance for 26, 27, 28. Right?
Yeah.
Part. So that's kind of like their solution. Let's create a static, and we'll fix it for those. I guess theoretically we're kind of the same, but a lot of these games, they just start to break, or that the game is balanced around, such as 4 players or whatever. And then if you add or remove players, then the game starts to become. I don't want to name a game, or maybe you can bleep it. I don't know if you can bleep it, but like one issue I had was that especially when you got to the higher difficulty settings, you had to almost solo it, because everything was going to kill you in like 0.5 seconds. But then if you have 2 players, then you just died instantly.
I mean, I'd actually put a really good example of this too is MMOs. If you walk into a dungeon or something, or a raid, and people dropped or disconnected.
Oh yeah.
Because it doesn't adjust downwards, so you just die.
On the side
Metal
note,
Furies it dynamically adjusts. Enemies will lose their shields, and that was so hard to do. And it was so hard to do if somebody disconnects.
And I believe it also switches not only for number of players, but it also changes slightly if you have, because it's supposed to be harder, I believe, for the scaling if you have multiple players of the same class, because you can do that through shenanigans.
Yeah. That's just that's not been tested though. It's just kind of roughly in there for people who want to have. But yeah, like we have a really, really complicated scaling system, because we are sharing a screen. The amount of enemies gets like, the readability becomes a big problem, right? So we can't add too many more enemies, or else it becomes unplayable. You can't also buff all the damage and health that they get, because then you start getting into the or I'm hitting this dude and he's taking forever. It's really boring.
Or one-shot territory.
So many issues. And then there's also the problem where you have to talk about pacing, right? You don't want these arenas to go on for too long. It's like this 3-layer system, where the first system is checking how many players there are. It says what's a good encounter for the situation you're in, and it abides by these universal rules, which we can override on a case-by-case scenario, which we do a lot of times. Then we have another system which is saying like which is like this unconscious layer, which is going like, oh, this player is doing really good, so they're dealing a lot of damage, and so more enemies are going to flock towards this character. And level, which is like changing the stats based on the total number. And these are hundreds of variables changing.
So it avoids picking on like players that are struggling and getting slugged a lot.
Yeah.
This suddenly explains why the boss fucking hates me when I was playing with my friend.
I actually think the tank pulls too much aggro right now, depending, but I'm not sure.
I was the fighter, but I was like a max level fighter with like, masteries up the wazoo compared to a mid-tier tank. And like the boss was just like, you need to die. And I was like, hey, stop chasing me.
Yeah. So
good to know.
Were there any bugs that you ran into while making Full Metal Furies? Well, specifically fun ones?
I don't know if any of them are fun. But
no moonwalking aliens.
So much moonwalking, man. I hate fixing all those. No. There's a bunch of moonwalking bugs and everything, but it's hard to say if there was fun bugs or like, obviously, the way we work is that like I'll ask my brother for variables and stuff, and he'll give them to me, and then I'll usually just break those numbers, right? I'm always just trying something out. So the revive system, right, where it goes up, like I love that. because I don't know if you've played a lot of these type of games, but it's like they usually do a reverse one,
where it counts down,
and if you don't revive them, they die forever.
or it just game's over for you, and it's just
Or
like
game's over, right? Which is better than killing the player, because man, when you kill off the player and then you're just like, oh hey, wanna keep playing, and then you're just soloing and you're watching, and it's so anti-co-op, you know what I mean? Like it's so old.
Like Left 4 Dead did it slightly better in that you could at least pull the player back in, but even then they were still like unable to do anything for a while, and it sucked.
Yeah, or I think Left 4 Dead, they died and then you had to like walk a while until you found a...
I found someone right around the corner shortly after they died.
Yeah, and even when I played Left 4 Dead, I was like, why even implement all this sound? It's such a better system.
I mean, I got it for the like what it was, because it's like a survival horror-y type thing. You slowly get picked off, but it could be really crappy at times.
Yeah, I don't know. It just felt like, especially for Left 4 Dead, if like, you have to know that when they do that, they go, okay, here's a situation. A character has died permanently. Nobody enjoys that. Like, there's not a single player in the user-based situation which is enjoying this.
Now, if they'd let me control a zombie after I died permanently...
Oh yeah, so you get more zombies, then everybody's gonna kill themselves. Everybody wanted to be the zombies. I hated being human in Left 4 Dead. The whole Splinter Cell. But anyways, yeah, I digress. It's just like, I don't know. It's just something that we were really proud of, was that reverse life bar. And it only came about because like we put it in session, except you didn't die permanently. It just dropped to 0%.
Huh.
And then I was like, well, what if I put in a negative number? Right? I put in that negative number. The bar goes up and it just keeps going up, so it actually fills the whole screen. Infinity, right? But I was like, oh, this is it. This is the thing that we're gonna do. Okay? And honestly, I wasn't really thinking about it. I was just putting in variables to try and break stuff.
And then you're like, wait a second, this is useful. This is
Yeah,
neat.
this is really good.
I
And
actually
so we
really
did-
like that system because it's like nice, forgiving. There's still that tenseness of like needing to create that opening to revive people.
Yeah. And also it's like everything you're doing matters. So even if you're like running around, because especially for people who aren't like super good at the game and they can't tap revive, which is what it would have been before that bar going up, it just makes it so that like if you're a player and they're just running around, everybody's still rooting for that dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, is there anything you really wanted in Full Metal Furies that didn't make it in?
Probably. So I guess it's a bit of a spoiler. You're always supposed to fight Minotius again, and if you read the story and like you know that in mind before you fight like the super final boss, he was gonna meet you and you're gonna fight him one more time.
Huh.
Got cut though because it didn't feel right.
How the
That makes
fuck
sense?
did he survive?
So he's always he was like the Titan always reference, like he's one of the stuff, like that's his whole shtick, right? And so he kind of
The buffest. He doth lift.
yeah, he doth lift. Exactly. And you just fought him at the second just before you fought the final boss, and I think there's still a lot of story bits which allude to that, where they're like, there's no way you could have beaten him, like way stronger than this.
Yeah.
But yeah, that got cut because of pacing issues. It actually got a bit of actions coded in for his second variant already.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that got removed. Also, you fought Koi 3 times. That was way too many.
I
We cut
actually
that out.
didn't mind it. For the current amount of times, I didn't mind it at all. Technically, he does harass you 3 times rather personally. So does Lelantos, given you have like him shooting at you for 2 stages and then like the proper fight.
Yeah. We really wanted to try making the villains more memorable. I guess you appreciated them.
Manicius was one of my favorites, actually. I was like, God damn it. I mean, I didn't want to actually kill him, but I was like, oh, well, damn.
Oh yeah. Well, a lot
He
of
was-
people didn't.
The most likable out of them,
I like them.
other than Styx.
Oh yeah, no, Styx is like generally.
Pretty chill. She's just mad
Yeah.
you're like breaking into her place and breaking all her stuff.
Yeah,
Which
honestly, we
makes
wanted to make
sense.
all of the Titans sort of relatable. This is way back because there used to be a lot more dialogue in this game, and we just kept cutting it. Like we cut, right? And so all of the Titans actually originally had a. So like Minotius had I forget what it's called, body dysmorphia.
Oh,
Like, cause he was like, oh, he's like, I'm so ripped, but am I ripped enough? You know what I mean? But a lot of the and every single of the Titans had one of those kind of core imperfections, right? But all of that got cut. Like a whole lot of dialogue got cut from this game because like when you're playing it, we're literally counting the clicks, any clicks for this type of genre, and so we just cut.
Fair enough. So there's like a lot of science that actually went into like how it got paced then.
Oh yeah, a lot of heartbreak because cutting stuff isn't fun.
Yeah.
And sequence of a different icon on the world map, which were
Oh, that was actually a neat feature, was like the fact that there was like little cutscene-y moments that were just there. You could go into them, you knew what you're getting in for. It was like a scene. You know, it's
Yeah.
like a chill story thing.
thanks. Yeah, we call those interludes. So whenever we're talking to people and we like start saying these things, people don't know what we're talking about. But internally, we call them interludes. I was pretty proud of that because this type of game is, and I know people have still complained so we didn't do it perfectly, and we could definitely do better. But really high octane combat, and also trying to push a narrative, right? So the interludes was our solution, where it lets the player have momentum, their own momentum, but at the same time, there's an implicit understanding that not much action is actually going to be happening. And then we threw in secrets.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Are there any jokes you can think of that got cut? Because the game's been really funny.
I mean, if they lost pages of content,
Yeah.
probably.
There's a lot of jokes that got cut. I mean, not all of I don't know of them off the top of my head. And even if they were off the top of my head, I don't think they'd be funny because you kind of got to be
Out
in
of
the moment.
context.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of jokes got cut. So I think 1,000 words. Right now it's down to 20,000, and this was just so actually one of the things that got cut was this whole side story. Kind of glad that got cut because it was going to lead to something even bigger, and that was just like too much content. But the Furies were like on the side, their own, yeah, and then it tied into this that we made that we're going to add into it, and oh my god, that was so expensive. that all got cut, but yeah, that had actually a lot of the jokes that I was a huge fan of. Then once, we're like, okay, we're gonna cut this entire side plot out, that whole section of dialogue.
All that hard work gone.
Yeah, a lot of hard work gets cut. And it's hard. It's even when I'm playing games, it's hard for me to appreciate. Right? Like I'll play a game, and go, that didn't seem like much, but you're never taking into consideration what was removed.
That's true. So, with Full Metal Furies release, is there any more content you plan to implement as updates or DLC?
Or restorations of stuff that was there but is not.
So we had on lobbies. So that's what's going to be implemented in our next update.
Wait. Online lobbies?
Pure online lobbies, fully
Yes.
implemented. It's not easy. We got to put it into Steam, but the hard part is also getting into the Xbox version because we've got to like match parity.
Yeah.
So much features.
Because like I was originally going to ask, originally you could do like couch co-op, online co-op, and even combine the two, but only if you know people to invite. And I was wondering like what went behind that design philosophy.
The original design philosophy was that this game was like it's a campaign. It's not Castle Crashers you can pick up and play whenever.
This is very story oriented, but at the same time, like players don't necessarily sync up. Someone can get ahead and still invite a friend over to play in.
And we put in so much work into that. Like, that's another thing. Way back when you said, what are people not going to appreciate? We have a system which we call the migrating save system. And it is like the most complicated save system manager. So like, if you play World 3 with a friend, but you've only gotten to World 1, want like your whole campaign file being screwed up, you'll play World 1, but the moment you reach World 3, and you played those stages with them, the system will check it, and then
they're auto-cleared.
Auto-cleared, yeah. It was so hard to do, and there's actually a lot of bugs.
It's neat, though. I've seen it, and it's a little wonky for pacing, but I think that's sort of a natural thing that happens with playing with people in co-op.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard to avoid unless you just have a friend who will, like, religiously just play advance with you.
Yeah.
Someone will end up ahead, and it throws things off.
Yeah, totally throws things off. And honestly, that was a mistake on our end, right? We just assumed, or we just were like, this is how people will want to play it. It doesn't really play. You're just to sign up with randoms.
Yeah.
But that's not the oversight on our end. We we were raised in a family with like 3 siblings, right? So it just didn't really click with us what it'd be like to be in a one-shot house.
Because ironically, I didn't have anyone to play with at first until I did our review and streamed it. And then one of the people who watched, who's on my Discord, was like, "This looks really awesome. I'm gonna buy it and play it with you." And I was like, I've reached someone in the audience. This is amazing. Also, yay, I'm not solo life anymore.
Nice. Going back then, that's now my favorite moment. Watching somebody play a game.
That is, I'm quite happy then. Is there, we had a little bit of a talk about this, and I realize it's up in the air, but is there any other content that you would like to implement, that you would want to, as a free update, as DLC?
Free update, I always wanted to implement, so I think the average player was currently beating it in around 15 to 20 hours. That's what we wanted. Original game, which we gave to somebody to play test, and she's really good, right? Like she plays Devil May Cry 3 and all those types of games.
Yeah.
And like 100 of them.
So one of the counter addicts.
Yeah. She took 40 hours to beat it at the original difficulty.
Jesus Christ, what?
It was really hard. And I was so pissed. I was like, this game's not hard, guys. But like everyone's like, it's too hard. And like for Rogue Legacy, just before we launched, I did a straight up 20% nerf, right? 20% easier. This game is closer to like 70% nerf to all the numbers.
Wow.
I can't stand it. The game is so easy, I can't stand it.
Like New Game Plus starts to bring the noise, but like, yeah, the main game was, I wouldn't say it was the easiest thing, because some of the bonus levels were a bit mean. Like the class challenges.
Oh yeah.
That shit was
I
hard.
like them.
Oh, they're good. Mastering the fighter one was honestly one of my favorite things, because...
Oh, thanks. Yeah, that one's my favorite too.
Yeah, the sniper one was my least favorite. But God, I love the fighter thing, because it's just, you have to get good at that jump and that counter.
Oh, thanks. Actually, that also got cut. There used to be 2 class challenges, or there were going to be 2 class challenges for every single character.
Would have unlocked another weapon or something else?
Locked another weapon.
Okay.
So which meant when those got lost, the reason we didn't put 2 in was because, and during play tests, people were like, "Oh, I don't really like doing this in co-op because one person has to sit out."
Unless they do the class shenanigans, in which case it gets easier.
Don't ruin it. Don't do that. No, you can do that if you want. But so we didn't do the second ones because people complained. But then, of course, what happened is that once their class challenge unlocked,
it would unlock it for the other person, so they could.
Like, oh, well, now I've got mine, and I like this, and let's go. I hope there's another. And but the original playtest was like, oh, people didn't really like it, so let's not do 2.
You know what's an actually interesting exploity bit too? You can actually bring the tank into some of them and use her to revive someone if they mess up, because she can perfect block the explosions. The fighter can also counter the explosions. It's not recommended though.
That's impossible. Yeah, we actually knew about that and we didn't want to remove it because it was like, even if it's like a very small chance of letting players like have the chance of supporting each other.
I actually, one of the things, I failed at the last one and then managed to revive myself by countering an explosion and finished it.
Oh, nice.
So, Full Metal Furies, whilst being a brawler, has some fairly rigorous puzzles and codes for players to crack. What led to this particular fusion of gameplay styles?
This was way back when we were brainstorming. So when we decided to make this game and for a friend's wedding, so during that time I was just spitballing in. And one thing that so like when we go, okay, we're gonna do a brawler, I think that it'd go off in my head as like, okay, well, what do I not like about brawlers, or what can we change? And one of them was like, oh, I want to do a story, right? We're gonna try and implement the story. I think we actually came up with interludes there too.
Is there any chance of the Full Metal Furies cast showing up again, either in a sequel or in an homage similar to the Karen fight?
Yeah, so one thing we want to do way back is kind of make it sounds stupid when you hear it, but it's like make a universe, I guess, like the Cellar Door universe. The River Styx is like connecting all of our worlds together in both Rogue Legacy and FMF. And I just wanted to keep going that, right? Like, whatever, we have this IP and I like them all. So if we did Rogue Legacy 2, we'd totally be doing homages for other games.
You actually just answered our next question too.
Oh, sorry.
No,
Okay.
it's fine because it
That's
was like
true.
just like whether they took place in the same world and in a certain place. In a certain sense, they really do because they're connected by, I guess, the world of the dead.
I was just about the puzzle bit. It was like I wanted to make a story which had to get a grasp of where it was going in order to finish it. Does that make sense? And I was like, oh, well, you can do that if you put in these puzzles, and the puzzle related to the whole core of the game. It's something that you can't do in a movie or a book, right? You can't actually set up like what's the thesis? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
We wanted to try that out.
it was an interesting bit of like, I would basically call it gatekeeping in a sense. There was a core narrative underlining everything, this mystery, and unless you actually bothered to investigate it, you'd get a sort of resolution, but it was almost like a sequel hook unless people actually realized all the rest of the story was still actually in the game. Because I remember reading the Steam forum post and people being like, what's with the sequel hook? Is there another game coming or DLC? And then it's like, oh, they actually took that as like the end of the game and didn't realize there's more.
We actually updated it recently. It was like a hidden update. So now it just says the game is not over.
Yeah, I saw that when I went back to it, like, because I've gone through it a bunch of times because I'm obsessive.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so it was sad. This game was finished before Nier came out. Actually, just in case people were wondering, this game, all the characters were finished before Overwatch came out. Totally ripped off Overwatch. And we didn't even know about Overwatch. Like the sniper. Because they got pretty similar kits. And everybody's like, Aaron's the same as McCree. I'm like, dude.
What? No.
McCree copied us. No, they didn't copy. Yeah.
I mean, I'd love if McCree had a turret that locked people down. Good.
Yeah. Well, she's got like roller reloading. And she's got like the big shot is kind of the same as his spam shot, but not really.
His
If you
instant
guys
kills
don't think-
like everything on the screen.
Yeah, it's totally like what Aaron does.
It's
Whatever.
So there's a lot of Greek mythology in Full Metal Furies, and even like a little bit of it in Rogue Legacy. So you have, for example, the Titans, and more specifically Cronus. There's the River Styx and Charon, as well as just a certain aesthetic, which is pretty notable. What led to that particular choice of theming?
So for this game in particular, the original idea wasn't supposed to be Greek. It was supposed to be a mishmash of all, I'd just say, religions.
Oh yeah, because there's like the Babylonian reference too,
Mm-hmm.
and then the Italians, the Mexicans off in their little corner, literally.
So it went into a lot of things like Indian culture and that, and most heavily it was still based around Greek mythology and Christian mythology. Like I was speaking with my older brother Benny. He's a really good. He took film classes and everything, and he was like, "You're doing too many things, right? It's getting too better to kind of like isolate it down and clean it up." So then, as the story was getting written, it got rewritten to become more geared towards just Greek mythology.
Okay.
Yeah, I did that because I'm lazy and I like Greek mythology already. And all of the other mythologies required a lot more research. And I was like, well, I'll do it again. And here we are.
Since you guys love to advance and improve on different genres of games, what is the next genre Cellar Door Games will be trying their hand at?
I mean, if we don't make a sequel, sure. But if it was up to me, I don't know. I've been wanting to try my hands at the XCOM style games, even though they do really well. I like really. I also really wanted to do a stealth game. Yeah, because I think stealth games are super bad. I don't know. You shouldn't. Don't ask me about these things. I say everything's bad, but I do like them. It's just like, man, you could do so much. There's so much that can be done in these genres.
One of my favorite stealth games, at least recently, is Mark of the Ninja. I really like that for like what it brought to like a stealth game, especially as like a 2D one. So it'd be sort of interesting to see you guys' take on it too, especially since you tend to bring a lot system-wise.
Yeah, Mark of the Ninja is interesting because the RNG almost completely felt more like a puzzle game.
Yeah.
I beat Mark of the Ninja, but I had trouble. Like my favorite stealth game I think of all time is probably Thief 2. It's an old game now.
That game's a bastard.
Yeah, I really like. There's a lot of bugs and the AI is really stupid, but I really like that because to make a really good stealth game, or in my mind, like a stealth game that I would like, it needs to have improvisation, right? Well, there's a lot of things I don't really want to talk about it, but
I was actually going to double back on this just for a thing for the RNG, but I really liked how Mark the Ninja had the path system and how it like interacted really heavily with what you could do. So like you had like the very stealthy route and like the pacifist route, and then you also had like Path of Nightmares and just trolling everyone. Like that's what I did mainly, is I played Mark the Ninja to troll everyone by like hanging people's corpses everywhere.
I didn't even know there was that path. I only did. There's only from what I remember, there was like the Path of the Ghost, which was like don't kill anybody, and then there was stab everybody in the face.
Yeah, there's other bits, but now I beat Full Metal Furies repeatedly, as I mentioned, and during the credits, there was like screenshots of this hypothetical feudal era Japan game, which is part of where this Mark of the Ninja tangent came on. And I admittedly was fond of the screenshots, so I was sort of curious what direction it would have gone, and would it have dug into like the mythology as well.
Yeah, so that's back when we were so when we're making a game, one thing that I know is like a super big weakness for me is art design and art direction. I just don't have that mind. I have trouble even caring about graphics, right? So like I'll play Horizon Zero Dawn, which is like the best looking game ever made, and I'm like, this is awesome, but then I just pan the camera down to look at my feet as I run forwards.
Same
What?
fam.
Yeah. So then we had the very general outline of what the game was going to be, right? Which was like the puzzles, titans, but even when I say titans, like they can be replaced with like different mythologies or whatnot. And the narrative, which knew what we wanted to say with the narrative, you can switch out like the thematics at will. And to the artist, I'm like, what can you come up with? And Sarah drew that. Sarah Gross, she drew that little thing, and it just really clicked. And like everybody wanted in on it, and we wanted to do it, but then just didn't pan out in the end. Didn't really work. I think our 5-minute video somewhere on YouTube, I think, which shows the game with really rough art.
Well, it was super pretty and super nice, and I sort of hope that you revisit it one day, just because cute fox.
Oh
I
yeah,
like your foxes.
They're adorable, even if they have rabies. Lots of rabies.
So, before the interview started, you kind of mentioned something about maybe adding a new character like Styx, or adding infinite scaling. Could you tell us about that?
Yeah.
Do you need to...
So, Styx was going to be a DLC character with, well, probably with a DLC extended campaign. He's like the item drops and everything, and that's how the game works. She was going to be a mid-range melee, use a whip, and we had concept art of that and everything. And I think she would have been really cool. I think a lot of people would actually like to play her, but, you know.
I mean, she's like one of the cutest character designs out of everyone.
Yeah, everybody likes Styx. She's great. Sarah drew her too. She did an amazing job.
I pictured like her being giant when I first arrived, and then she's like, "Oh wait, she's the same height as me." And then I like came back there later. I'm like, "No wait, I'm bigger than her," because I was like using the false Titan shield as the tank. So I was like, "I'm dwarfing you. This is adorable."
That's awesome. But yeah. So she was gonna be the fifth, which would have made them the teams. More or less, we put in a hard cap to NG Plus because for Rogue Legacy, because everybody's all over the place, right? Like it's completely broken. There's no way for us to add additional content that would work for everybody.
Yeah.
And we wanted to not have that bottleneck, which is why we capped it.
Because if you add new content and someone's at like New Game Plus 7, they're never really going to see it because they just die instantly.
Yeah, and it's just like it's all over. It's like, oh, I ruined the game for myself, right? So that's why we capped it. But there's a pretty good chance, I think. Yeah, I don't want to promise anything because a lot of what we do in the future is dictated by like the economical situation.
Fair enough.
So that's like that was one of the things we wanted to do. The other thing we wanted to do as it being done, because if we did do DLC, we don't want to remove that cap, was create a procedurally generated arena to let people who are like literally at the end game content just have something they could do. right? So like this arena would be more or less like look how far I've gotten, or whatever wave or whatnot on however we decide to implement it.
Oh yeah, sounds good, especially when it starts doing like the horrible things that happen in some games. You're like, hi, do you like fighting 2 bosses at once?
Yeah.
And then you just die.
Yeah, it was actually like it was gonna be in the original game, right? It was gonna be, I think, 100 waves. It gave you an item or something,
Nice.
but we got rid of that because it was that or more stages, and we added more stages. Like, always have to give out a reward, which if we ever made a sequel, we'd completely rework the reward system, like the way the things drop stuff.
Fair enough.
We just didn't have enough rewards to give to implement a 100 arena thing.
Yeah, that's... I actually really liked the way the equipment system was in the game, because it was pretty nice. Everything was fairly valid. You had a lot of options, and it didn't just become you were using a singular gear set for everyone always, because it was all side grades, and I actually really liked that.
Oh, you know, we might the upgrade system used to be way more complicated. Like you could actually versions of those weapons, and that all got removed. Well, you know what? If we did the 100 dungeon, we might actually re-add that.
Huh, something to look forward to.
Yeah, there's a lot more that we cut out than I remember.
You guys have been making games forever, really. So, do you have any advice for aspiring devs, or maybe just people who are looking to up their game a bit?
Yeah. Making something, finish it. Like, just make something small and finish it, because people say this all the time, but it's really hard to appreciate unless you're, like, actually go into it. Finishing a game, like that last 10%, 90% of game development, and it's so much work. And if you're even trying to get into the game industry, like you got your resume and everything made on your own, puts you in the top 1%. Like right off the bat, you're gonna be so far ahead of the competition. That's how I got in.
So build that portfolio.
Stupid RPG Maker games. I made those when I was like 15 to like 16 and a half or something. And that's what got me into my first job. It wasn't my going to university or anything. Like that had 0% correlation.
That's actually sort of awesome. You literally got your first job through RPG Maker.
Yeah.
Heard it here, folks. Yeah. Invest in RPG Maker 2000. Become game developer.
Also, I mean, since people, it's often that people will say that have been in the industry a long time, so it just reinforces it and reinforces it, guys. You need to really finish those games because everyone says it has to be true at this point.
Yeah, no, it's actually something that's reoccurred. Just you can start something and that's fine, but finish it.
Yeah. A lot of people start a lot of things.
Full Metal Furies is available on PC through Steam and Xbox One. Be sure to check out cellardoorgames.com, follow at Cellar Door Games on Twitter, and Cellar Door Games on Facebook to keep up with all their latest news. Is there anywhere else you'd like to direct people?
we don't have a lot. Please buy Full Metal Furies and Rogue Legacy.
We always say that, you can buy the game and also follow their updates. But in this case, they're gonna tackle your favorite genre and fix it. So you don't want to miss that. You better follow them. And also, they're gonna update the game if you buy it more. So go ahead and buy a second copy because we want to see those new features. we want to get that new character and infinite scaling. So just buy a second and third copy.
Okay, I just want Styx, actually. Styx is... I mean, the new content's great, but I just want to play as, like, Styx because she's kawaii as fuck.
She is. She's for the... Is it for the weebs? Or that's wrong?
Grade A waifu material. But for those watching, thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this kind of content, like, comment, and subscribe. You can click the bell to get notifications when we do new material, and share this to people you think might be interested in.
Also, if you would like to be part of a community of game fans and developers, there's a link to our Discord server in the description below.
And also, thank you to Teddy Lee for popping onto the show today. It was a blast to have you.
It was fun to be here. Thank you.